Hello, this is Christian Okoye, former Kansas City Chiefs. You are listening to Grilling Truth.
Welcome, everybody, to the Grilling Truth CFL Grey Cup preview show. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and we got a few guys here that have played in the Grey Cup before. But first, we're going to introduce the guys that didn't, and nobody could have gotten farther from ever playing from a Grey Cup than Oz Davis. How you doing, Oz?
Absolutely true. I am completely outclassed on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, flag intramural football in fifth grade is not really the same thing.
No, it doesn't count.
All right, and we've got Joe Pritchard. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm in the same boat as Oz, wondering what the heck we're doing here.
All right. And our next one, as always, every week, Brian Schmidt.
Everybody, greetings. Ready for a great Cup game?
And now we'll get to the guys that have actually been in the Grey Cup. We've got, first up, I think, John, you were the Coach of the Year in 1988, correct?
89.
89. You won the Grey Cup in 1989 with Saskatchewan. Help us welcome to the Grilling Truth, John Gregory.
Well, no, and in 1984, the opposing quarterback was Dieter Brock. That was when he was with Hamilton and I was with Winnipeg. We played in the frozen north in Edmonton.
Yeah, and I think John got the best of you, Dieter, 47-17, wasn't it?
Well, if we had stopped the game after about a quarter and a half, I think we were in good shape.
Yeah, I think you got 14-3. You ran one in. I actually watched that game the other day, believe it or not. Help us welcome, CFL Hall of Fame quarterback Dieter Brock.
Well, it's good to be back with you, Mike, guys. Yep.
Always good to have you,
and good to be here with John. I'm good to hear John on the phone here.
Well, hey, I have an interesting deal. When I first went to Winnipeg, Dieter was our quarterback, and he had this program, this javelin throwing program to develop arm strength. Am I right?
That's correct, John.
What I did was I went out and I designed some balls like they were women's shot puts. And I took those down, and I used those for a number of years in the States based on the way Dieter started with a certain weight ball, and the ball would come right back to you. So, I mean, it could work in the basements and all that kind of stuff. And actually, we could have made some money on that, Dieter, but I don't know.
Is it too late?
You might still be able to.
I remember John coming in. You were a guest coach, I think, that year, and you came out. I remember you come up to my room, and we talked about that for an hour or 2 hours or so and explained that program. And, it was a great program. I really enjoyed
it was really
workout.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, so we got the Grey Cup coming up. John, you were the head coach at 89, assistant coach at 84. Is the preparation any different for the Grey Cup? I know everybody like to say we do everything the same no matter what, but it has to be a little bit different when you get to the ultimate game.
Well, in my case, and in fact in both cases, rather than expand, I contracted. We decided in the Grey Cup in 89 that we were only going to run a few plays. We figured out what our best plays were, and the running plays we did the best, and then all the other junk goes out. And we put in just a very few plays that are outstanding execution. We already knew that they liked to pattern read in their secondary, and that's why I played Ken Austin, because he was so good against zone coverages. And Tommy was a lot better at with man-to-man coverage, but that's why we played Kent. They both were outstanding quarterbacks. So that's what we did. We used those. We only had a few plays that we ran in the whole game, and then we had that great kicker. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, you get down to the ultimate game, and it's all decided by a kick in the last few seconds. I mean, what's that like? Being a coach on the sideline, can't really do anything other than send your kicker out. I mean, what's going through your head at a point like that?
Well, it was, they had made a great pass and catch on my mind. The player that made the great catch was a great player and to tie us up. So we had a drive going, and we were on about the 30-yard line, I was pretty sure that our kicker was going to kick it at least for a single. So, but a field goal would be better. So I was pretty confident one of the two were going to happen, and certainly he made it.
Yeah, and Dieter, your Grey Cup experience, you were with Winnipeg for a long time. You leave Winnipeg, you go to Hamilton, and then the next thing you know, you're playing against your old team in the Grey Cup. I mean, what was that feeling like? Had to be some mixed emotions there.
Well, it was. I mean, I was really thrilled to, just to have the opportunity to go there. I know we were heavily underdogs in that game. Winnipeg had a great team. They had a great defense, and it was. We knew it was going to be a tough game. We got off to a good start, but they just got everything going together and put it to us in the second half.
All right, so
but what the claimant at the game was 30 below zero. That was
it was cold. Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty cold. A little bit. Oz could handle it, but Oz, do you have any questions?
Well, yeah. I actually wanted to talk about the weather. I wanted to hear some horror stories about weather come CFL playoff time.
Go ahead, Peter.
I like the -30 story.
Well, I can tell you this. I mean, I had dislocated my right toe in the Eastern Final the week before, and the first play of the game in Edmonton in that Grey Cup, I slipped on some ice, and I'd had my toe injected right before the game, and that didn't do any good at all because the pain just shot right in my toe again. And it was really cold. I mean, when you got off the field, you went right for the heaters.
Well, one of the things that we did in that game, Dieter, if you remember, is we had our offensive linemen had broom ball shoes on.
I didn't realize that.
We all played with broom ball shoes because the field was frozen, and the broom ball shoes, of course, you use those on the ice in hockey. But every one of our offensive linemen had broom ball shoes on. And I think it really helped us in our blocking scheme because we weren't slipping and sliding. And
right.
So I think it was a big factor.
Yeah, wasn't something similar like that happen in Montreal in the 77 Grey Cup?
No.
I think it was Montreal and Edmonton.
No, those were spikes.
I think didn't they wear tennis shoes or something in the second half? Or
yeah, they put screws through their shoes.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
All right. Joe, you got any questions?
Yeah, so this past weekend we saw one of the more weather-impacted playoff games in quite some time in Ottawa. Was there any would you do anything different in the snow that you wouldn't do without having that snow on the ground and in the way?
Did you see the game, Dieter?
Yeah, I saw the game, and we played in a game in Edmonton. It wasn't a playoff game, but we played in Edmonton in 75. One of my first years of actually being a full-time starter, and it snowed all night before the game and all through the game, and we actually, I think it helped us in our passing game. Man, we were able to throw the ball. I think we threw for over 400 yards in the game. Ended up losing 48-41. It was a high-scoring game, similar to this game that Ottawa and Edmonton just played. Yeah.
All right, Brian.
Well, I don't really have any question. I mean, I'm just kind of sitting back enjoying listening to the stories because that's fun. It's kind of fun to listen to guys that have actually been there and done it to kind of hear the take on it. So I'm just sitting back enjoying right now. So.
Yeah, my question would be this, Dieter. You get a game with the snow or the ice, it's cold or raining. I mean, do you do anything differently when you throw the ball? I mean, you loosen your grip up, tighten your grip up, or?
Well, I don't. I really didn't have to think about it too much. I mean, you certainly. I mean, you don't want to tighten your grip up, that's for sure. But I think you just try to play a normal game, and really it is pretty much a normal game unless unless the ball gets wet or. And the worst part is the wind. If it's a windy game, that really affects the passing game.
So, is there any early forecast for the game, Oz?
Yeah, I actually looked before the Rouge, White, and Blue podcast. Now, this is a week ahead of time, so the accuracy kind of decreases every day after about 4 or 5 days. But every day leading up to this thing, they're expecting 40s to below 40 in Toronto, and most days it's going to rain. So that's rain. Yeah. So that's rain unto freezing rain, come game time. So we had snow last week, we had wind last week. Now we might get some freezing rain, and Joe's going to be there for it. Joe's going to have to break out the poncho and watch that game.
There you go, Joe. You have to wear the poncho. My question is this: for watching the two teams, then, if the weather's bad, it's raining, whatever it's doing there, doesn't that give the team that runs the ball better a bigger advantage, which I would think would be Calgary with their offensive line and Jerome Messam, Dieter?
Well, you could say that, but, as I remember this last week, LaFrance had 157 yards rushing for Ottawa, so they had a pretty good running attack going also. But I would say, that the big guy in Calgary is probably going to be have a better advantage in this game. And when you look at the game, one of the stats that sticks out to me, Brian, is the fact that Ottawa's touchdown percentage on red zone attempts is 48.3, which is second to last in the CFL. I mean, they've got to be able to put the ball in the end zone if they're going to beat Calgary.
Yeah, Calgary is such a complete team. You can't settle for field goals and expect to win. You've got to put ball in the end zone, and that's been a struggle. I mean, Ottawa has been a big play team outside of the red zone, but then when they get in the red zone, they can't get it in, which that's not going to work with Calgary. Playing Calgary, you've got to put touchdowns on the board, and that's really going to be the key for Ottawa is they've got to score points, because I don't think defensively they can stop Calgary. So this has got to be, for Ottawa to win, this has got to be one of those where they put high 30s, low 40s up and win a game in a shootout.
Well, and Joe, I mean, the big thing to me is we talked about Messam running the ball. Calgary averages 96.9 yards a game rushing, but the Red Blacks, I think the strength of their defense is the defensive line.
Yeah, but they can't just sit there and focus on the run game all day either. They do have Bo Levi Mitchell back there and a gaggle of wonderful receivers they have to worry about at the same time. So if you have the defense not knowing which way it's going to go, I would imagine that's going to help Calgary be able to do what they want when they want to do it.
Yeah, but they did hold John White, who'd been really hot for Edmonton, to 66 yards rushing. And, I mean, they did slow down Mike Riley.
That they did. They did have the elements in their favor, too. Edmonton does love the long ball, and they had that really taken away from them, from what I could tell in that game, just simply because of the conditions. It's a little bit harder to make that long passing game go, and a little bit harder to make a running game go where you need to make a lot of cuts when your footing isn't as sure here. So I thought that the weather took away Edmonton's two best things on offense. So I don't think Ottawa's going to get as lucky with the weather taking away stuff that Calgary does well, because really I can't think of a thing they don't do well.
Yeah, one thing I think about Dieter, and I think when we were together, we had a lot of bad weather games, but I think that one thing that everybody always thinks that when you have a slushy field that running game is the best, but the number one thing, if you have a guy like Dieter Brock playing quarterback for you, is on the drop back pass, the pass rush is not nearly as severe because they can't get good footing. And if the offensive line could just stay in front of them, it just takes them a little longer to get there. And there are some really interesting. The same with the defensive back. They don't know which way the receiver is going, so if they can shake them a little bit, I mean, there's a chance for some really big plays offensively. And a lot of people always say, well, it's cold, it run the ball. That's not necessarily true.
Yeah, but my point with that is Calgary's offensive line is so good. You got to be able to take something away from them. And I don't think that Ottawa has the defensive backs to really take the passing game away from them.
Well, the offensive line is so good there because their offensive line coach is outstanding. I worked with the offensive line in Calgary a year ago in preseason, and I specifically worked with the offensive line. And their offensive line coach, I think, is absolutely fantastic. So those players are good, but they got a good coach, and so I think that they'll be a big factor in the game.
So, John, Dieter, you hear a lot of talk if Calgary wins this game, especially they blow them out, 15-2-1 regular season. I mean, do they have a claim to be considered maybe the best team in CFL history, or at least one of them?
Well,
yeah. Go ahead, John.
You asking me? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But I can tell you this, and Dieter, you remember John Huffnagel was part of our quorum there at Winnipeg, and then I hired John as an assistant coach for me in Saskatchewan, and I'm kind of the one that talked him into going into coaching, and he ended up being a phenomenal coach. He is a really class act guy, and is a good basics guy, and I mean, I think that he's taught the current coach a lot of nice lessons on what to do on certain kinds of days. So I think the coaching is going to be a really interesting thing, and certainly when you come from Calgary, you know how to play on different types of fields and weather. So I mean, I would give them the advantage.
All right, so Dieter, Henry Burris, or Bo Levi Mitchell in this game?
Yeah, both of them have played very well. Obviously, I think Bo Levi Mitchell is going to be the MVP of the year, and I think they'll announce it this week. But Burris played very well last week, and I remember a game in '81 where Ottawa was playing Edmonton, and Edmonton had a 14-1 record that year, and probably was similar to what Calgary is this year. That was a Warren Moon-led team, right? That was a Warren Moon. They had Tom Wilkinson as a backup. The only loss we in Winnipeg we won. The only time that they lost the game was against us in Winnipeg. But when getting to Ottawa finished with a 5-11 record and ended up getting into the Grey Cup in '81, and we're heavily underdogs. And that game came down to a field goal last play of the game, and Edmonton won 26-23. Ottawa had a 20-1 lead at half. Was the quarterback for Ottawa then, wasn't he? That's correct. The old Hobson quarterback. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this game, I really think this is going to be. I mean, you would think Calgary's got, is going to blow them out here with what they've done all year, but I don't know. I think this could be a very interesting game. Well, and the thing that I keep going back to, Brian, is if you remember the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, I think you get to week 4 or 5, the way Trevor Harris was playing, I mean, a lot of people thought Ottawa was the best team in the CFL at that point.
Yeah, and we talk about their defensive shortcomings, but let's make no mistake. This is a one-game deal. If we were talking a best of 5 or best of 7 on paper, yeah, there's no shot. It's a one-game deal, and we have all seen it. We're talking about Ottawa defensively not being very good. Well, in a one-game setting, they can come out and play out of their minds and play the best defensive game they played all year.
And they've played a lot better the last month.
Absolutely. And let's also, Calgary, which has been a machine all year long, well, maybe this is the Sunday that all of a sudden the machine's not firing on all cylinders. It's a one-game setting. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, after New England Patriots when they played the New York Giants when they were undefeated going into it.
Absolutely. So, anybody on paper that says, well, hey, Calgary that should blow them out, that's not always true. This is the Grey Cup. The only thing you know about the Grey Cup is if you don't know a lot about it is over the years, the team on paper has not necessarily always been one who wins. And I expect this to be a great game. My feeling is Ottawa will put some points up, and I think Calgary puts some points up. I think this is going to be a high-scoring Grey Cup.
All right, so Oz, I know you probably think Calgary's going to blow them out, right?
Maybe.
So what do you think Ottawa would have to do to be able to stay in this game and have a chance to win it at the end?
I think the first thing they have to do is score first. Honestly, they're going to have, at very, very, very least, they're going to have to get out to the lead. I think they're going to have to be able to play their fast game. They're going to have to. Last week I relied on pace. I'm going to go back to pace. I think if you play Ottawa's style, they're in this thing. But if you let Calgary run it here and then pass it here and then just control the tempo, which they can certainly do, this is going to be open and shut case. Could be a blowout, but Ottawa can put up a lot of points on the scoreboard. They can against good defenses too. So it's just because look, you talked before about the front seven and all that, the front line, but the truth is that, and they have been playing better in the last month, but the truth is that Ottawa has given up the 8th most yards to offenses this season. 8th most, okay? That's only Toronto was worse. Okay, they give up a lot of yardage. And just like BC found out last week, if you spot Calgary a lead, they're going to stifle you. That's going to be the end of it. So I think Ottawa's got to come out, score early and often.
All right, so you going with Calgary?
Oh, yeah, I think Calgary's going to win. It could be close, but I'd say maybe 10 points, a couple of scores.
All right, Joe, you want to take a shot at predicting the game?
Yeah, I'm thinking this will be a little bit more in the range of, I was thinking 38-20 Calgary's way. I just don't think Ottawa's got the horses to stop Calgary, and I think Ottawa may make a mistake or two early on that will put them in a hole and have them playing catch-up the entire time, and they won't be able to keep pace.
All right, Brian?
I'm going to go with Calgary as well, but I'm gonna sit there and as I think about it, I'm going to put this as a little bit closer game than what we've seen so far. I'm going to say 37-31. I think that Ottawa will come out. They will score early. They will make it a game. I think Calgary will get control in the third quarter, and they will do what they're very good at, and that's keep that distance to where the final score is a 6-point game, but they always keep it in that 6 to 13, 14-point range.
All right, Dieter?
Well, I think if Ottawa's going to have a chance in this game, they've got to get some turnovers early in the game. They've got to force some turnovers and get some scores like that. If they can't get any turnovers with the way Calgary's offense is as good as they are and as good as their defense is, that's why it would be a possible blowout. If they could get some turnovers and kind of get some points off of that, and they have a chance then to keep it. And it's got to be a lower scoring game. Then I don't think Ottawa's going to score more than 20-something points, 20, 22, 24 points, if that. So it's got to be turnovers to get some points for them to win this game.
All right, Coach?
I think, I think Calgary has the upper hand. They've got more experience in the Grey Cups in the last 7 or 8 years, and I think with the weather conditions sound like they're going to be wet and sloppy. I think the scoring might be reduced. So I'm looking at Calgary like with a 28 and Ottawa with a 20, maybe 19, 18-19.
Yeah, I have a feeling Ottawa's going to give them a game, but when you look at the stats, I mean, sacks allowed, Calgary's first at 20. Nobody's even close. Sacks allowed, Ottawa 7th. They've given up 50. Turnovers, Dieter, you talked about Calgary turning the ball over 26 times all year, Ottawa 40. I don't see how Ottawa can win the game, but I really think Henry Burris is a hell of a quarterback. I think they're well coached. I think they're a tough team. I think Calgary wins the game something like 31-23.
Okay, so the bookmakers have an over-under of 54.5, and they have Calgary at 9.5-point favorites, so that's right around 32-22 is what the sports book
you have a point with that, Oz, because you know we don't like to talk about gambling. That's what
I just wanted to
evil people gamble. That's you, Oz.
It's just a measure. And I just thought I'd bring it up because, oddly enough, your prediction is almost completely in line with that.
Well, I should be a bookmaker is what you're telling me then, right? Probably pays a lot more than what I do. So.
You probably looked it up before the show. And
no, I don't look anything up. You know I do this totally unprepared all the time. The stats I got off the CFL website while I was talking because I was trying to talk myself out of picking Ottawa and being the only guy that was wrong. So, but I do think Ottawa has a good chance. Joe, you got any final words?
No, I am just getting packed, getting ready to fly on up to Toronto on Thursday and enjoy myself hopefully a more exciting Grey Cup than I'm predicting.
Now, are you going to Canada to watch the Grey Cup, or are you going because you're one of them people that said if Donald Trump wins the presidency, you're leaving the country?
No. The Grey Cup trip was planned, well, pretty much the moment last year's Grey Cup was done, so this is happening regardless.
But he is checking out a house while he's there.
All right, Brian, any final words?
I'm looking forward to the game, and I really enjoy having John and Dieter on tonight because I love all the old CFL stories and just getting that perspective. So I appreciate them being on tonight.
All right, Oz?
Well, I just want to say I'm jealous as hell of Joe. Have a great time, Joe. Have a beer for me at the game, and have a great time. Enjoy it.
Well, there'll be plenty of beer, that's for sure. I'll have one.
Oh, I'm sure.
Even if it's 40 below?
Even if it's 40 below.
Especially if it's 40 below. It kind of numbs the pain.
That is for sure.
All right, Dieter, any final words?
No, it's just good. It's good to hear from John. It's been a long time, John. But I hope everything's going well with you, and it's good to hear from you.
Yeah, I just you know, we always had a great relationship, and and then our buddy Ray Yock, he called me the other day, wanted me to meet him up to Myrtle Beach and play golf with an old college buddy of mine, and I was busy, otherwise I would. But he slips down here every now and then, and we play a little golf and we talk about you. And so I think the last time I saw you was at when that fundraiser deal up in his hometown. That was a long time ago.
That's right. Well, tell Ray I said hi, and again, it's good to hear from you.
Yep, same here. And so you want my predictions on the game? Is that the deal?
Yeah, I think you gave us a prediction, didn't you?
Oh, did I? Okay, well.
Yeah, I think you did. So, John, I know that you are the commissioner. I know you're the commissioner for a new indoor football league. You want to tell everybody about that, where they can find out more information about it?
Yeah, this is really an exciting deal in the fact that in the Arena Football League, which I was involved in for a number of years, the group decided to hire me as a commissioner of the league, and we kind of struggled and bobbled along, and then all of a sudden things worked out for us. Jacksonville decided to join our league, and then also I was able to convince a team in Mexico to join our league. So we now are an international Arena Football League, and we're really excited about this thing. I think in at least in 2 years, I think we'll be the dominant Arena Football League.
And you guys got a website for the league?
Yes, it is, and it's called the National Arena League. National Arena League, and that we changed names as of last week because we were going to be a developmental league, but now we think we're going to be the league. Okay.
Yep, sounds good, John. Best of luck with that.
Thanks.
Hey, and I want to thank John and Dieter for both coming on again, and you guys interested in coming back to review the game with us next week?
Be glad to.
All right.
Actually, if you'll fly us both in, we'll sit in the box with you.
I don't think you want to fly into Cincinnati, Ohio. You're not going to be able to go off here, John.
No, I meant to Ottawa.
Toronto.
I don't know.
Toronto.
Brian, you got enough money to fly him to Ottawa? Or Toronto?
Good. Nah, I have no idea.
Yeah, we don't have any money, John.
Okay. All right.
Hey, I want to thank everybody for listening tonight. I want to thank everybody that's listened all year to the CFL Weekly Pick'em Show with Dieter, myself, Joe, Oz, Brian. I think over 20 weeks we had a total of like 68,000 listens. So I want to thank everybody for listening. Come back next week where we will recap the game with Coach John Gregory, Hall of Fame quarterback Dieter Brock, and then these other guys, including myself, who we don't even need our names mentioned after mentioning guys that have won Grey Cups and been to Grey Cups. But make sure you check us out on thegrillingtruth.net. Follow us on Twitter @GrillingTruth. You can catch all of our shows on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Music, almost anywhere you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grilling Truth. So for Joe Pritchard, Brian Schmidt, Oz Davis, Dieter Brock, John Gregory, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.